Yep.
It's an English-speaking podcast, right?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. You know how I've never been really that good with money.
Yeah. We've talked
my
about
whole,
that.
situation has been kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
But it has become better.
You're
eventually.
better with money than
Yeah.
you were. Yeah.
And just before we met today, what I did is that I paid all my credit card bills, like just a half hour before you arrived.
So you
Yeah.
cleared your debt.
So I actually have no credit cards that I haven't paid for,
Wow.
which for me is huge.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like I've been going in this situation for so long, struggling with it, like mentally, like and then and of course, as I've done this, I also have experienced again and again and again that it turns out okay anyway. Like the next day comes and I have enough for whatever I need to do. But so the situation's solved in a really nice way.
Wow.
But it's also like a feeling like, okay, know what? Like, what's the problem? Like that there
You
is
need
like,
a new problem.
there is not really any difference, in other than, or I just haven't realized how much freer I am actually. Probably, I don't know. It's weird because it was really, it was crazy yesterday when I realized that it's gonna be okay. The situation is gonna go away or resolve. So, but I actually didn't believe it at first because the thing what happened is that what's the English word? I have my apartment and I borrow money from the bank to have the apartment.
Yes, you have
So
a
I pay-
mortgage,
mortgage,
that you're down
Yeah.
paying. Yeah. Gradually, the apartment becomes yours.
So
yes.
the solution was that I extended the mortgage to pay for these things, which is when I see back at it now, it's kind of obvious
that you
way
could have
to
done this
d-
very
yeah,
earlier. Yeah.
But I had this idea because I had a really bad relationship with my bank, and I kind of started hating that bank because I was kind of born in that bank. I had an account since I was like a
Well, it
month.
was your lifetime
Yeah.
bank. Like you'd always been going
And when
to that
I
bank.
bought my apartment, I got a loan from the bank. But then I went on a spiritual journey doing different stuff. So eventually when the bank didn't get the money they said they had to get to be happy, they started not being so happy.
Yeah, the bank wants
Yeah.
their money back.
Because I had, some kind of a period of a few years where I actually didn't really pay on time. So to
So
speak.
you
Yeah.
had you were late.
So
Did you,
Yeah.
but you paid.
But I paid, yeah.
But you just were late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one fun fact that to that thing is that at some point, how in Norway we have Lindorf. What is it called?
Yeah, it's
Um,
what's it called? If you failed to pay.
Yeah, if you fail to pay your bill or from something,
Lindorf will come after you,
Yeah.
and they want interest on.
because the person you owe money
the
to
failed payment. Yeah.
just sell your debt to this
Yeah.
credit company or whatever you call it. Is that debt company or I don't know?
Yeah, I guess they will.
Yeah. So
they
it's-
will pay out your debt and then collect
So
it
at-
from you with interest.
Yeah, exactly. With big interest.
Yes.
So at
that's-
some point, what actually happened was that my whole, mortgage was going to Lindorf. So I got actually a bill in the mail like you owe 1,100,000
Yeah, the entire
kroners.
mortgage. You had to
It was
pay
like
it.
you have to pay it by next Tuesday.
That sounds
And,
like such a good feeling.
it was a really nice feeling. So it has been bad, but it has gotten better and better and better eventually.
But no,
because-
this is the bank that you now got. Like you took out some extra money from the mortgage to
Yeah.
pay your credit card bills.
Yeah.
Is that the same bank
It's
as
the same
your-
bank.
So
And the reason why that's interesting is that the relationship we had was kind of going bad, and I couldn't get any kind of flexibility from them at all. And I started really kind of disliked the whole bank. And at some point I figured out that, okay, I just have to wait to this year, 2018, when my statement to the state, or what do you call it, selvangivelsen.
Oh, yeah, like the tax return.
Yeah, the tax return. When all that is done, because then I can come with a paper saying, now I'm back on track. I earn this kind of money, and then, and then the bank will take you seriously again. So I was waiting for that moment so I could go to a different bank that I had kind of fallen in love with, because I like this bank because they are going to treat me well.
You found the good bank, not the bad bank that you were in.
No. So what happened is that like a week ago, I sent an application to them with a new statement and saying everything. And I had all the information they had told me before, that if you come with this information, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And then I did, and I didn't hear back from them for a while. And one guy from that bank called me like in the evening, and I couldn't speak then. And so it went almost a week until I got the same person on the phone, just needing some more information. And it turned out this moment I've been waiting for, there was one detail that I didn't take into account, which was I had too much debt that to be able to be accepted by them to get a new loan or move the loan to the mortgage to this other bank. So I had been like stuck in this idea that eventually, when 2018 comes to June, I can fix every financial problem in my life, and
all be solved.
Yeah. And then I got the message, no, it's not good enough. Sorry. So that was kind of bad. So I went totally down,
Yeah, so your dream of a new bank relationship was ruined because
it was ruined totally.
Your income compared to your mortgage was not aligned correctly for the bank to accept your application.
Yeah. And I hated it so much also because I've been hating it for a long time, that why don't the bank trust me enough to move the same loan to another bank? When my apartment has in 8 years it has more than doubled itself in value.
Yes, because the real estate market in Oslo has been very.
So the loan I'm asking for is less than 1/4 of the value of the apartment.
Property,
so I was annoyed, to say the least. But what happened was then that I came to that moment like, oh shit, it doesn't work. I have to start looking differently at this,
A new approach.
So I spent the next few hours to actually just really, make a budget. Okay, how can I pay back without this, like just with my income, pay back every debt that I have, and how long will it take? So I realized if I can have this, if every month I can have this kind of amount, X amount of money to pay credit cards, then I am gonna be free from it in 2 years.
Okay.
And it wasn't a capable amount, not like a.
It wasn't a stretch.
My money.
It was
within
your reach. Okay, yeah.
So then I actually started being like, oh, that's not too bad. It sucks because I would rather save those money and use it on something I want.
Yeah.
But it's it will work out. And then I was kind of okay with that and finding peace again. But I also realized that okay, maybe there's some other banks I could ask, and I found this kind of directory page where you can just fill in all your numbers. And they reach out to different banks for you to say who can match this.
Smart.
Yeah. But the same day, I just and I remember I was going to lunch, and I was eating lunch with my colleagues, and I was sitting there thinking, should I at least because part of me was so stuck in that the whole bank thing.
Yeah, your bank crisis.
Should I ask all these people? Maybe they know something. I was like, or should I? What should I do? You know? But I also kind of was so tired of the whole thing. Like, fuck it. I'm gonna bother. I'm just gonna pay those credit card with my salary and just be
done with it. Yeah.
And hate banks forever. But after lunch, I went up to my office, and I, for some reason, I signed in at the bank, the bank I was born in.
Your childhood bank.
Yeah.
Piggy bank.
That I only go in there if there is something with the mortgage that I need to fix or something.
Yeah.
You know? So otherwise, I don't use it.
It's only for
because
mortgage.
It sucks. You know?
Yeah, you don't like the bank.
So, but I went in there, and the first thing that popped up in a banner in top of a page is like, do you want to extend your credit on your house mortgage or whatever you call it in English? And I said, yeah, that could work, you know, maybe. Even though they didn't want to help me before, I could give it a try, you know. And I filled in the application and did everything, and then like 15 minutes later, there was a guy from the bank calling me. Really nice guy, super, you know, service-minded, and just wanting to find the best solution for me in terms of what kind of, you know, things should, you know, all the details about the mortgage when you are extending it, the down payment in years or the amount of you pay every month and all these things. And also to make sure is the amount you ask for actually enough to pay all your debt, or do you want more, or do you need all these things?
Yeah, to pay your credit card bills.
Yeah,
to become free of them. Yeah.
So he said like it's probably gonna be okay, but I can't, you know, confirm. I need to send it to the next, you know, the next guy, and you will get an SMS tomorrow or something to when it's confirmed. Yeah. But it was kind of. But when I was hanging up, then I was kind of so kind of twisted in a sense, because one part of me was just coming to this kind of release where I just had to laugh and scream. Another part of me didn't really believe it. You know, like, no,
it's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. I've experienced this before. There's a lot of banks you can fill in the application, verify your ID, everything, sign the contract and everything.
And then they will call and be like,
then
no,
they will
sorry.
check. And then I will actually do the check and say, no, it doesn't work. So I was kind of, so I mentioned it to my friend yesterday, and also I was so like reluctant. Should I say it or should I not? Because it might not be true. So yeah, but it then was true. So today I got the message like, now your contract is ready for signature. Just go log into the bank, and then I did it at once. I was like in 3 minutes I had signed everything, and then I was signing into the chat because I wanted to ask the bank how soon are this money coming, you know, because I'd like to have some money
to solve this issue of yours.
So I think I was number 3 in line.
The waiting line.
There was a queue in the chat room. But before I was actually going through the chat room, I got a notification: the money is now on your account. So yeah.
So things worked out quite nicely.
Yeah.
In your least likable bank.
Yeah.
Your hate bank.
But it was the thing that struck me yesterday when I got the, you know, when he actually I don't know. Sometimes during yesterday, when all this was happening with the bank, is that there is this feeling of, you know, I've been focusing all my attention to go out there and reach for something that should be a better solution for me, because I have a bad relationship with home, you know. So
you should go elsewhere. Go out.
So the insight coming out of this is like, okay, I actually feels much better to go home and resolve my issues, and then becomes more out of that instead of, you know, hating a bank and go elsewhere, because I don't really believe that would solve my issues at all in the long run, you know. like as a general life thing. If you solve your problems instead of, going away from them, it generally works out better.
Yeah, showing up, solving your problem, not running away from them to find a quick solution elsewhere.
Yeah, that's my insight from the experience.
That's a good insight.
Yeah, but now it's like, wow, what should I do? I realized that, okay, I'm not gonna get all these bills in the mail anymore.
You've solved one of your major life problems at the moment.
And it has been, it has really been one of the things that always I felt, were hindering me.
Yeah. It's quite a big thing.
So there's there's both, I don't have these expenses, but I also on top of that actually have an income now. So, because all these things happened because I didn't really have an income, or there has really this unbalanced income. And I wasn't good at handling the money. So I was creating this situation out of that, and constantly having to struggle with it in some kind of sense that takes a lot of energy. So now I have an income and I don't have that kind of debt. I'd still have the mortgage, but that's really handleable, or it's so much easier to handle because it's one amount.
It's
one loan.
Quite manageable, and it's tied into the property you own, so it's sort of more like an investment than just money to burn.
It's true.
Yeah.
So that feels nice.
So the solution was back home all along.
Yeah. Why is it always the same solution?
So sounds sort of boring, I guess. It would be more fun than that the solution would be outside, would be elsewhere.
Like at Mars or Pluto or something. Yeah.
Pluto, that's far away. That's a stretch.
But it's like, why is it always? But this kind of, it's the same. It's always the same mechanism. It's always the same, realization in a sense, but it's not. But it is like always the same thing that. Okay, it wasn't that. It was this that I already knew, if I was honest, in a sense.
Yeah. But I guess when you're just like stressed out and it's this big, huge problem that you need to solve, it seems like finding the solution is actually, in a sense, what you don't want, because that, as you just reflected upon, if you solve the problem, then what?
Yeah.
Because now what's the rabbi going to do? Because he's solved.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's go on to the next problem, or.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what happens, because right now the situation is really crazy in my world, because so I've paid the bills.
Bills have been paid.
I've set aside some money for other things that I know is coming up. And I still got money left.
You still have money left?
Yeah. And I'm getting my salary from work tomorrow.
You haven't even gotten your salary this month.
Wow.
You still have money left.
So it's interesting to see if am I gonna just throw myself into the same kind of issues again, or have I actually learned this time? To handle money better. And I actually think I have learned something, at least. There is some difference. So I'm.
What have you done with your credit cards?
That's one thing as well. I have decided okay, I'm gonna have one card left, and cut the other ones.
It's probably a good idea.
I haven't managed to decide which one should I, because
this
card has this kind of bonus points thing for this thing, and this has for another thing, and so on and so forth.
I have to confess that I've been, I like bonus points or discounts, and I think in a sense it's sort of like a greed component, right? Trying to get one step ahead of the pack, and then it's like the realization that it's not the point of the exercise, and it's just sort of sidetracking you, because it's which is the better option? How can I get ahead? How can I figure something out that nobody else did, and I guess like you should keep a credit card because all of a sudden you need credit,
Yeah.
or you can buy like
And it is smart
if you travel, you can
Yeah, exactly.
buy with your credit card, and you will have traveler's insurance.
Yeah,
And
all these things.
maybe it's a good idea to use a credit card abroad
Yeah.
because if you get
Yeah.
like your card stolen,
Yeah.
or there's
All
some
these
fraud
things.
going on, and
There's a lot of reasons why.
but
it's a good idea.
it
But
comes with some responsibility, right? And
Yeah,
and I think it's like a you're not going to win anything by it.
Mm.
Like it's not going to magically
yeah, but it's also like,
make
am I
money
really gonna
appear,
win something?
even though it seems like it does.
Am I really gonna win something by cutting them all? You know, like in my own. Do I need that? Is that freedom, or is it just?
Like this, the
Putting
freedom
my
lies in having them,
Yeah,
but using them responsibly, right?
yeah,
Because the moment, say, you don't really have enough money to buy this or that object, but you can use the credit card, and then you can.
yeah,
Then I guess you're sort of venturing into the same landscape that sort of brought you to
yeah.
this juncture previously.
It's true.
I guess
it's like-
if you feel like you've learned any sort of lesson in that regard, that it doesn't really pay off in the end.
Yeah,
But then again, is it if you do the same mistake over again, it's just more to you just need to learn it, or it's
true.
it's still a learning experience. And I think the biggest problem is that we tend to come down so hard on ourselves for making the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
It's like how like fool me
Yeah,
once,
because
shame on
because
you, and
the
fool me
thing
twice,
is-
shame on me.
Also, that I've done this thing before, where I was in a really bad situation, and I got help, and because I was offered help, and I felt so ashamed, I didn't say the whole truth. So I was holding back some
Oh, yeah,
some
just
amount just to
Smooth things
not-
over a bit.
just
yeah.
smooth it over a bit. And I realized when I look back at that the worst thing about the situation wasn't receiving help, which I felt ashamed about. It was actually not being honest when I first received help, you know, like because I was not actually I was not actually helping myself out of the situation, because I was just recreating it, because I didn't get actually help to come out of it as it looked like for other people involved, because I wasn't honest, because I was holding back amounts of credit debt so I was still actually in the same situation, just lighter, you know.
Yeah, you
Um,
weren't completely off the hook.
Yeah. And it might not look that big of a difference if you get help to pay the whole thing or a bit of it. It's just that in this situation for me, it was that I wasn't changing myself in any regard. I just was feeling ashamed, and I got help, and it was a little better. I was just carrying on as before, you know, like
Yeah, it didn't change anything.
if I could be honest with the whole thing and be honest with just, you know, what's exposing the whole thing, I think I would, when I look back at it, I would handle it differently, because I would actually cut deeper into the actual, you know, issue with it.
It's a more vulnerable place.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's tough life lessons
Yeah,
to be learned.
It is.
But yeah, it's so you said something about sort of like, so now this is resolved, but some part of you sort of feel like it's sort of like a letdown, or
Yeah, and it's like it's probably since money has been an issue for me for so many years. It's like one part of me might be just a little afraid that what's gonna happen now, because I don't have that focus anymore. Am I?
you're opening up to something new.
Yeah. So that's just that transition is really scary. One part is afraid to fall back. Another part is afraid to what is actually the thing that is space for when it's not there, you know. because it's like I can use if I spend 20% or 40% of my energy just worrying about that thing.
Yeah, that's a lot of
That's a
energy
lot of
you can use
energy
on
to
something
use
else.
for something cool.
Exploring the unknown.
Yeah.
And of course, the known, your debt, is such
Yeah.
a safe space,
Yeah.
right? It's predictable. It's coming after you. It's the perfect enemy, and you're the victim.
That's true. But it's actually, when I talk about it now, I realize I'm not gonna fall back because I feel like I don't go there. Like there is a part of me that just can't go there anymore because I don't.
You've moved on.
Yeah, and I don't match that kind of energy anymore. Like that's. Yeah, I'm tired of it, and I don't create that situation anymore. I just know.
I think that's
Yeah.
some good deep knowledge
Yeah, it is. It is.
from you to you.
That's true.
Yeah. I
You
also
always,
have a mortgage.
Yeah, you have a mortgage, but you've always been good with money.
I've always been good with money, and there's stories from when I was a kid that I would go away and come back with more money than when I went, because for some strange reason I just managed to. So I didn't steal. I wasn't nothing like that. But to be like, if there was like, I think there was like this arrangement where there was some prepaid meal, and I didn't want the meal, so they gave me money back, and things always like money. For some strange reason, has always hasn't been a problem for me. Even though at times I'd be like somewhat worried about money, but I also realized that would primarily be because someone else told me I should be. And if I'd had like a partner who was really worried about money, it would sort of rub off a bit, and I would become slightly more worried about money. But somewhere inside of me, there is this confidence that money. First of all, I know as well as you do that money is merely a
tool.
A tool for simplifying some transactions between human beings, and also a very great tool to sort of store time.
Yeah.
So you can spend time here and then sort of store it in the value of money, and then take out this time later, which is sort of interesting and really weird. But in a sense, it just seems to work itself out, and I think if you dare to trust it, right?
Yeah.
Not second guess it. It will, like, life will work out.
It will.
And for me, like in other aspects, like because money was never like a big issue for the most part. But in other aspects of life, like for instance, as a teenager, I was like, I will never get a girlfriend. Now, imagine how hard it would be for me to notice if someone was interested in becoming romantically involved with me, walking around in my mind thinking, I will never get a girlfriend. That's some major obstacle I have created in my own mind.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
You know the feeling.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, saying to yourself, and I think this applies to nearly all human beings, and maybe other species as well, like intelligent beings on other planets. Like telling yourself on a daily basis that you're ugly is not going to make you feel attractive.
That's true.
And it doesn't matter what you look like. It really doesn't, because that's defined by yourself.
Yeah.
Like you can always say, well, so people used to tease me and say I was this and that, or like for me, instance, okay, so you have a big nose. Okay, I have a big nose. And so what? But if I start thinking, oh no, I have a big nose, that's bad. Like bad in why?
Yeah.
How?
And you can apply it to anything, any situation, any object, any circumstance, any
But it's so easy, right, to just construct reality around all these things. And money, it's such a tempting, and obviously, even though I don't have like a problem with money, I do still reside in the realm where I'll not allow myself certain things because I wouldn't have the money for it, or that's not possible because I'm that sort of person.
Yeah.
We couldn't do this because that would mean that we would have to, and sort of creates a lot of limitations based on sort of like my base feeling that I wouldn't deserve it. I'm not good enough to deserve all these things. And that also is like, so things will pass you by, like opportunities present themselves, right?
Yeah.
But if all you're thinking about is how you're not worthy of anything,
It's true.
you will pass the most amazing things. And also, even if they're presented to you, you will typically think that it's something is not right.
Yeah.
There's a scam. You're being fooled, and
yeah. And also, like, one thing I've been thinking so much about lately is that, and this is from Abraham Hicks, as I mentioned many times now.
your boy.
But
Mr. Hicks.
but it's like when maybe I talked about this last time. I don't know.
You can say it
But
again.
it's like you have a desire, this what you want that is true to you. If you're like, or you could say like your higher self has a desire for you, or like you have this. If you take away everything you think is important or not, you still have a desire for something.
Yeah, it's like a drive,
Yeah.
like something like
Something you want, or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to experience, or somewhere you want to be, or direction, really. But the problem starts, or the confusion, or the desperation, or the doubt starts when you mix desire and belief, in the sense like you. For me, for instance, like I went into the spiritual journey and made a lot of rules about what spiritual journey means, because I need to be, I need to become pure. That's the point of the spiritual journey. And in that pureness that I've, defined, there's a lot of things not being spiritual. So then, there's a lot of things I can do. But what if those things that I can't do are actually those things that I desire? Then it's going to be really hard to continue the spiritual journey.
it'll stop
Yeah.
effectively. Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to find a better example, because the spiritual journey or the spiritual thing is maybe a good one, but I think what could be an example that is kind of more, relatable to daily life is like,
Well, I'm gonna try. Let's see if it works. So I want to climb a mountain,
yeah,
but so I'm afraid of heights, and I don't like getting fatigued, getting my muscles getting tired from walking.
Yeah,
How am I gonna get up the mountain?
exactly.
I want to get up the mountain. But this and that, and no, I can't.
But it's like all these beliefs about what is right and wrong is like, how is it that we allow those beliefs to define what we can and cannot do, in the sense that, because that's not even us, in a sense, it's just rules,
Yeah.
The desire is what we really want to do.
But
That's the experience we are searching for.
If you're limiting yourself into believing that you are only like this vessel of your being, then obviously being afraid of heights is who you are. And then if you expose yourself to heights, that's horrible, because you're afraid of heights.
Yeah.
That's not you, is it? But it's and when you feel it, when you feel it like properly,
Yeah.
it becomes like a laughing matter almost, because
It's true.
it's so silly, right? Because you were believing that you were afraid of heights, so you couldn't climb the mountain, but you wanted to be on top of the mountain, and then you realized, oh wait, I am more than just
Yeah, and it's like
this.
another way to see it also is like if you come into this world through this vehicle. It's actually the same thing you said. I just saw
Let's say it again.
saw it
That's,
in another way. It's
that's
like,
a way of underlining it. That's
Yeah.
great.
it's like this vehicle that you are using, the body, that means, has a lot of
The
experiences
meat
around.
Muppet.
Yeah, meat puppet. but it's like, so you constantly get, influenced in the sense that your circumstances will tell you what that thing is, what it can't do and what it can do, what it should do. And this becomes your reality as well, in a sense. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the beliefs, in function or in action. So, but the real you is the observer of that, or the joystick man doing it all.
The joystick man and the meat Muppets. Now that's a
Yeah.
children's book, I believe.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna
probably.
co-write together. I will
Yeah.
do drawings and you will do the writing. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's nice.
Out in stores now, or digitally, I guess.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
2018.
So yeah, that's so there's a lot of things where and it starts with the first limitation that will control you is, okay, what's your identity of who are you, and in that definition there is a lot of rules, and then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into smaller segments, but the main segment that always will be, your frame, and you can see it as a limitation, and it often is, but it also the reality of being here, that you will always be limited to some kind of identity of who you think you are. Even being a spiritual, enlightened person that are not attached to your body still has an identity to some extent in that body, like I don't think you can be here without it. But
Yeah.
that will be kind of the drawing board of whatever is possible or not possible.
And in a sense, like this deep appreciation of actually having the experience of being your body.
Yeah.
You need to have that to actually realize that you're not your body.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's like this, the whole like construct deconstruct mechanism is so beautifully like created, where when you're born, then you're sort of like this divine being who's not actually limited by anything. You're just being, and then you're being like told, well, you're a human and your name is Ulf. Okay, yeah, I'm a human and my name is Ulf. So what does that mean? It's like, so I'm a human, okay, so I can walk, I can talk, and I can't fly because humans can't fly, and I can have a credit card, and I can drive a car, and I can fall in love, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can be beautiful, or I can be ugly, and you sort of put all these labels on your meat Muppet, and then at some point you start questioning, like, what does that mean? It's like, what? It's just like a thing with labels on it, and these labels are me.
Yeah,
you just put them on there. It's
but it's also
labels.
When you're then limited, I mean, you are. If you look at it negatively, then, or like in the lack sense of it, you will always be limited to your label then, or the labels, so because you define what everything is, and then there's a lot of things possible within that kind of setup, in a sense.
Yeah.
So since then, the world is created as you see it. Then you confirm what you see, and you recreate the same thing based on the same limitations. But then you see someone else who has reached a new, high score or something. Like sport is a good example, because like you can see through history that different sports has reached higher goals over time. Run faster or something like that. And then when one person has done it, then everyone else starts to come afterwards because they have seen this one do it. So it should be possible.
Yeah.
So that, in a sense, is how we move forward. That one person has the experience, so other people can
So it
believe
is
it's possible
possible.
too. So the easiest way to grow is then to see that someone else has done it, so it should be possible, because it's an easier way out of the loop, you know. But an even more kind of crazy way to, if you want to call it that, to grow is to be open to receive or to create more than you already see without having seen it first somewhere else. But it's just interesting, what does it take, or what do you actually need to, you know, what needs to disappear in order to make you the person that allows that to happen? When it's based on, you will always recreate based on what you confirm is true. So if you're only looking for reality through circumstances, you will always just recreate circumstances again and again and again.
It's quite loopy.
Yeah, it is. Like with money, if you always calculate what you have and base your finances based on that's the only opportunity or the only possibility, you will constantly recreate the same budget over and over and over again.
Yeah, will not get anywhere.
No.
Yeah,
So that's the
you'll
kind of
be
the-
effectively stuck.
That's the
So
trap,
the-
you know, when you realize, okay, I'm in lack of money, so I need to sit down and make a budget. So I make sure that I have enough money. And then I see, okay, I have this little money now, so I need to cut, here, I need to cut there. And so you reconfirm for yourself that, okay, I need to spend even less money now because I'm poor.
Yeah.
And then you start creating that poor mentality of, I don't have enough money, I need to cut my budget. And then you live in that poor mentality.
Yeah, and there's no way out of it because you don't have the money. You can never escape.
Yeah. And there's actually a good example because if you are a person that has, you have your salary from work and is you get the same amount every month.
Yeah.
So you have pretty confirmed, you're pretty sure that that's the roof, of what you can earn because you have a job. It's full time.
Yeah,
and
so that's how much
this amount of time gives you that amount of money. Full stop. There's no more to that formula possible because you have confirmed that this amount of time creates
equals
that amount of money.
Yeah.
That's the formula, and then you are limited to that, and it can be a really heavy, belief to change because it's so, constant. It's so like reaffirming every month that, okay, that's the salary, that's the top. But it's also just a rule that you have created. But you can ask anyone you meet on the street if you ask them if there is a way out of that without working more hours, and they say no, because
that's not
that's
imaginable,
funny.
right? Within the limits of your constructed reality.
Yeah.
This is a reality where 8 hours of work equals that much pay for you.
And that's also funny because you
want more,
mentioned
more.
it earlier in our talk now that money is a way to trade time. And yes, it is. But it's also like the funny thing about that is that you define the value of that time,
Yeah.
And that's interesting that there is actually no link between the amount of money you can earn and the time you spend earning the money, if you are honest with yourself. But we have all these ideas that, this amount of money means I'm going to work that amount of time, but it's not true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not true.
I guess the more people repeat a construct, the more solid it gets.
Yeah.
Like in the case of like a powerful political figure, repeating something, regardless of its nature, will gain a momentum, and then it becomes a truth, even though it's just put out there. So yeah, like, so a doctor will make this much money, a nurse will make this much money, a teacher will make this much money, and then we tell our children, so if you want to make this much money, you must study to become a doctor. If you want to make that much money, you can become a nurse. Or if you like teaching, you can make this much money. And then you will have nowhere to go because you subscribe to this idea that that's how reality works. It's you're being told what reality is, and that's reality.
Yeah, exactly. And just think about how much we kind of justify that this is the way it works. Like,
it has to be like this.
It has to be like this.
It couldn't be any other way.
There is no other way because we can see it. And
we couldn't imagine it.
Then it's of course true, because then there is no other way that you are willing to see right now. And I realized just when I talk about this thing that I see so much limitation in my mind in order to be but I still feel that what the thing we're talking about is so true, that we're just creating these limitations ourselves. But I can see in my mind now that I have a lot of them.
Feels like, you're sort of like in a tunnel, and you're digging, and you get out of the tunnel, and then sort of you see the tunnel collapsing, and it sort of opens up, and there's bright lights outside. Completely different direction than the one you were digging.
Yeah.
Because you were digging downwards. It's very, very stupid. But then for some strange reason, you just continue digging and trying to fill the hole of this new way towards light. Because it just doesn't match, because you have a map, right? And the map says, I dig this way, and then I will get out of this mess.
Yeah.
Even when a better option presents itself, if you always insist on your map being correct, you will miss an earlier exit into something far better. Man, I wish I could utilize this knowledge
you can
in everyday life.
All you have to do is to
believe. Well,
just like
trust. Is that a better word?
Yeah, but it's in the sense that one thing is to trust that it is okay, but that's kind of neutralization to it. It's not a creation of something better. It's just neutralization to the limitation you see in yourself.
Yeah.
So
it's going beyond that limitation.
Yeah. So what you need to do is that you need to realize the limitation, but don't give it too much energy to realize. Just when you see it, it's a really good thing to see it, because you realize and you can learn a lot of things about yourself from that.
Should write this down.
But or record it maybe. Yeah. But then it's like the other thing that is even more important is to don't go into the negative spiral when you see it, but what you rather do is to create the positive spiral, where you reaffirm what you actually want and what you actually are ready for. Because if you go, but that has to come through the desire, not through your ego wanting to fix your because that's the big difference. If you try to use positivity to get away from negativity, positivity doesn't work. Because you can't run with force in the opposite direction, because force cannot ever work to get away from something. So one way we often do is that we talk about what's wrong. So we use force to push against what's wrong. We don't want this. We want this.
Yes, we're pushing against the force that will only increase by the amount that we push against it.
But also when we try to get away from something because we have read a spiritual book, learning some cool tools, we can still, if we don't understand the concept, use the ego mind to use force to get away from something we don't want. So that everything you tell yourself is motivated by the pain of the thing you don't want. But then you're still creating from the same place. That is that there is not enough. I don't want this. So it needs to come from the positivity in the sense of following a desire that I will allow this thing that I already know is true into my mind. this thing that into my life, this thing that I realize that I want. If I'm honest with myself, I want more of this. I want this experience. I want this feeling. I want this. So use rather your thinking mind to reinforce that with a kind of a higher vibration, and the way you can feel a difference is that it feels better. It doesn't feel like a struggle. It feels like it lifts you up. Like, oh, this is more what I really want, and then trust that will manifest. Whether it's something physical you think about, or that it's just a better feeling, because from that better feeling you will create a better world around you and you will have a better experience, and it will get easier and easier to follow that kind of desire. And if it's a desire that you think is wrong, then it's a good thing to start looking at these beliefs, that what they're actually pointing at, because there is some part of you not deserving that the thing you actually want in your life. God damn it. So that's even like with things you don't want in your life. Like for me, this thing I've been talking about before, that I like to drink, and sometimes too much in my judgments. And then one part of me, when I start working on that, is afraid to become that person that drinks even more, but the truth is, the more that I can actually appreciate the thing that I do have, like I can realize, okay, I don't want this thing, but when I see that okay, I have this problem, and I label it as a problem in my mind, and I've tried to change the label to other cool stuff, but it doesn't work. It's still a problem. But what starts to shift it, I have realized lately, is when I actually start seeing the positive things around it. So I can kind of give a lot of positive attention to it, but then I can also start focusing on what I rather want in my life, in a sense. Because those things that there is a crash between, like I said, between the desire and the beliefs. So the alcohol is pointing to something I want. I'm not saying it's alcohol, but it's pointing me to a direction that I actually want in my life. But I have a lot of beliefs that that it's not right to get it through that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, that's not the path. So
yeah,
it's the wrong. It's a
wrong
step
path
in the wrong direction.
So that's the reason I'm struggling with it, and it's always, you know, getting in the way of my path, is because I have this mixed thing about it. So it can never go away until I've resolved the mismatch between my beliefs and the desire. It will continue to reappear until I've resolved those kind of things. But it doesn't solve itself by judging it. It solves itself by allowing it to be what it is, and appreciating what I have created, which is that problem. And then focusing on what is actually desire telling me that I want. But the desire is really hard to see when all I see is the judgment around it first. Then it's really hard to see what's actually this desire behind the glass, you know, or the wine.
You have this path, right? So taking you towards what you desire, and then you have these obstacles, and you tend to try to avoid them.
Yeah.
Because you identify with what you're not. But in effect, you're just making them bigger obstacles.
Yeah, you do.
That you're effectively just pushing against, making them even stronger. And then you're stuck. And then your desire just seems like a negative thing.
Yeah.
Leaving you to conclude that desire is bad.
Yeah.
So I should be freed from desire. I should have no desire whatsoever. Should desire nothing. And then you even desire
that's true.
nothingness.
Because that's also the other thing about that there is, especially as a spiritual person, but also in general life, I think for most people, that that there is this idea that desire is not necessarily a good thing, you know, because you don't either you don't deserve it, or it's not reasonable, or it's not this and that. There's a lot of reasons why desires are bad.
The desire would typically get you into like an affair, and then a divorce, and just a world of pain.
Yeah, but I still think like there is, an affair is a good example, because there is a thing you can, what we talk about now, you can say, you should. It sounds like you should follow your desires. And yes, I support it, but I still think there's a difference between, you know, you don't actually need to act out everything in your mind, you know. Like, if you are in a relationship where you know it's the right place for you and actually feel that, but you have a desire that is not, you know, that you cannot justify in that relationship, so you should think you should either, you know, go behind that other person's back or leave the relationship. That might not actually be necessary, because it's not about necessarily creating a situation. It's about allowing yourself to go in that direction in your mind, so you can actually solve what's in it. You know, you don't need to. Not everything needs to be a physical experience for you to actually, you know, grow from it or solve the challenge or issue.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe the word itself, desire, is sort of being limited by, very like physical aspects of human life. So desire must be the desire of something. So the desire of having cake or making love to someone. That's desire. Whereas there's something. There's something bigger in play than
exactly.
that the word desire actually can embody. And
I think a simple way to put it, at least the way I see it right now, is that if you have a desire, that means you will either break the law or go behind the person you are in the relationship's back. Like, if you would either cheat or you would do a crime to do it. It's not necessarily that you need to do it, because the point is that you meeting that desire means you need to allow that feeling you're longing for to be experienced by you. So if you have this pull towards something that you can't do without, you know, breaking your life apart, it's not the point of doing it, it's the point of feeling what's in it, you know, that what is the feeling that you are longing for that is behind that desire. If you can allow that feeling to occur, then you will actually either really easily create that scenario, if that's what you want after feeling it, but most likely you don't even need to experience the scenario after you actually have had the feeling, because then, oh, okay, now I'm done with it. It's fine. It's good.
Just like a movie.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a movie and you see people killing each other.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean you want to go. You got to experience the feeling.
Yeah.
And it made you,
and you can decide,
quite possibly
you
conclude
can decide
that
afterwards, do I want this or
not? Not such a great idea to.
I don't need it. So, yeah. And that's also a point with making things serious or not. Like, when you go to a movie, you can experience something and you can leave the cinema. And you're fine, because it was just a movie.
It was just a movie.
So you actually allow yourself to feel a lot of things that you wouldn't actually allow yourself to feel in real life, because that was just a movie. Yeah. So that's, to me, like a really nice little, you know, hint that
that's a good hint.
Maybe if I don't take this movie, like life, so seriously, I can allow myself to feel a lot more stuff and have a lot more fun and get a lot more of the things I actually want to be felt or experienced.
Yeah, and easier to actually find your true desire.
Yeah, exactly.
Not your objectified, bigger car. Yeah, something like that. The type of desire.
True.
Yeah, and you stop getting more credit cards to try to fill these gaps in your life.
Sure. That's the funny thing now, that after this, like, okay, it's still like just a few hours ago that I got this money, you know. So I'm not gonna, but it's like, since yesterday I started thinking about, okay, now it looks like if I'm not, if not something bad is gonna happen, that I actually gonna receive those money tomorrow, which would be nice. But then I started thinking about, okay, I want to. Is there something I should allow myself to buy now that I would need, because now I can afford it, or maybe I want to, buy some kind of surprise for my girlfriend or something, like just a nice thing. I still think I'm going to do that though. But the other thing is that I realized after thinking about it, and also thinking about it today, that there is actually nothing I really need, to buy. That there's not something that I need to change, in the sense that, oh, now because I have money on my account, I need to buy some other stuff that I wouldn't let myself do before. It's the exact same thing. So that was it was a relief, but also kind of disappointing, because but I think the disappointment is that there is some kind of flat state that I am in now that I wish I could fill with something, because part of me was probably like struggling with it for so long that I was expecting some kind of reward, in a sense that when I fix this, then
and then something will be different.
Yeah, but it isn't.
Well, I guess it is, but it's so subtle, right?
It's different. It is different, but it's
like
not.
it's like your birthday.
Yeah.
So you have your birthday. It's like, well, I should feel different, but it's.
Yeah, but it's actually more than that, I think, because I think the difference I haven't realized yet. Because the difference is something completely.
That's true.
Different, but much better than I actually expected. Which is the shift in the mind, in the sense
you've grown.
That the relationship to money has changed. Yeah.
Is there any limit to this growth?
I remember that I was watching back a few years ago, when I was watching a lot of these documentaries about, what's it called, 9/11 conspiracy.
Yeah, conspiracy theories. Yeah.
I remember one of the guys that the government. I don't remember this scenario. I just remember the thing. Like, one of the way that they were told to be, that they were told to stay shut up, like don't talk about it. I think actually it was kind of some kind of aliens or something, like. Some people had said that have experienced aliens in some kind of military base in the U.S.
Yeah.
And they should not talk about it. The way that they bought their silence, was these credit cards. That was actually, the credit line. The credit was infinite.